Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I've always believed that the forest has its own memory. It remembers everything. Every footstep, every campfire, every scream swallowed by the trees. And sometimes, if you're unlucky, it remembers you. I've been a forest ranger in Oregon for 12 years, mostly patrolling the stretch near the Cascades that no one likes to talk about. It's deep country, the kind of place where even compasses go haywire. The air feels thicker there, heavier, like the trees lean in too close and whisper things when the wind isn't blowing. Most nights are boring. You check the trails, make sure some teenage couple isn't trying to start fire in the wrong spot, maybe scare off a black bear sniffing around a campsite. But last fall, I had a night that crawled into my bones and never left. It started like any other late shift. The sky was cloudless, and the moon was out, big and orange like a bruised pumpkin. I'd driven out alone, radio crackling with occasional chatter from base. I had to check on an old fire watchtower that hadn't been used in years but still stood stubbornly like a rusted tooth in the forest jawline. I parked the truck at the trailhead around 2 in the morning, slung my flashlight over my shoulder, and started walking. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. Not a single chirp. Not the flutter of wings. Not even the rustle of leaves. Just silence. That kind of silence that feels like it's watching you. I figured maybe a cougar was nearby. That'll shut the whole forest up. But even then, you usually hear something. I told myself it was nothing. Just my imagination poking holes in my nerves. The tower was a good mile in. The trail narrowed the deeper I went, swallowed by tall pines that arched above like ancient cathedral beams. Their trunks were wide and blackened in the moonlight. Their branches gnarled like arthritic fingers. As I got closer, I noticed something else. My footsteps weren't echoing. Normally, the sound bounces a little off the trees. That night, it was like the woods were absorbing every noise I made. Like they didn't want anyone to know I was there. I was about 30 yards from the tower when I heard it. Whistle. 2 notes. High-low. I stopped mid-step. It wasn't wind. Wasn't an owl. And it wasn't any pattern I recognized from birds. It sounded like a person. And it wasn't close, but not far either. A chill ran up my spine the way cold water trickles under a shirt. I turned in a slow circle with my flashlight, scanning the trees. Nothing, just bark, branches, and shadows. Hello, I called out, trying to sound more annoyed than scared. No answer, just silence. I walked the rest of the way to the tower a bit quicker, telling myself it was probably just some hiker playing a joke. Maybe some off-the-grid weirdo who lived out there in a shack and didn't like company. The tower creaked when I climbed it. It hadn't been maintained in years. Still, it stood strong, tall enough to see over the tops of the trees. I scanned the horizon with my light. Forest in every direction, like an ocean of black bristles. Then again, whistle, high-low, closer this time. My skin prickled. My hands tightened around the flashlight. I grabbed the radio from my belt and clicked the mic bass. This is Ranger Cook, come in. Static. I tried again. This is Cook. I need a location check-in. Possible trespasser near Watchtower 9. More static. Then, just faintly under the hiss, a voice. Michael. That's my first name. I never use it on radio. Only one or two people at base even know it. The voice was whispering it like a lullaby, like it was savoring it. I dropped the mic like it burned me. I backed away from the edge of the tower. That's when I saw it. A figure, just standing there at the tree line. Too tall, too thin, arms hanging straight at its sides, like ropes. The head tilted ever so slightly to the left, the way curious dogs do when they hear a sound. It didn't move. I shined the beam directly at it, and in that blink gone, not like it ducked or ran, just wasn't there anymore. I scanned like a madman, sweeping the trees, the underbrush, every inch. Nothing. Then I heard the whistle again, high-low, but now it was behind me, on the tower, right there with me. I didn't look. I couldn't. My legs took over, and I ran. Down the creaking steps, flashlight bouncing wild shadows across the trees. I hit the trail fast and hard, my boots thudding in the dirt, breath coming in panic gasps. Behind me, just at the edge of hearing, whistle, high-low, always just behind, never closer, never farther, like it wanted me to know I was being followed, but not caught. I made it to the truck, slammed the door, and locked it. My hand was shaking so hard I could barely fit the key in the ignition. Engine roared. Headlights cut the forest. No one was there, but I didn't care. I drove fast and didn't stop until I reached the highway. When I got back to base, I tried to explain it. They wrote it up as stress. Lack of sleep. Maybe a prank. But I know what I heard. What I saw. I went back during the day a week later. Nothing strange. No tracks. No evidence anyone else had been out there. But I noticed something carved into the wooden post at the base of the tower. Fresh. Sharp. It was a single word. Michael. I never patrol that stretch again. Not alone. Because I know the forest remembers. And somewhere out there, in the silence of those black pines, something is still whistling, still waiting, and it knows my name. Story 2. When I was 16, I thought I knew everything. You know how it is. Fist full of anger, heart full of pride. I just had a screaming match with my parents. One of those fights where words fly like knives and nobody really wins. I slammed my door, grabbed my gear, and told them I was going camping for the weekend. Don't wait up. I said like I was in a movie, not even knowing where I was going. I just needed to get away, to breathe. I ended up deep in the Adirondacks, far off the trail. I wasn't dumb. I'd camped with my dad before, took a survival course the summer before, but this was my first time alone. Just me, a pack, and the woods. I set up camp near this quiet lake, still as glass, pine needles thick on the ground. No service, no signs of other campers, not even a beer can rusting in the brush. It was peaceful, that kind of peace that's so quiet it feels like the world's holding its breath. I got a fire going, ate a pack of jerky, stared at the stars for a while. The anger started to drain out of me. My parents weren't monsters, just people, flawed and tired, like everyone else. I remember thinking I'd call my mom when I got back, tell her I was sorry. Then I saw her. She was standing just beyond the trees, across the fire's glow. A little girl, maybe 8 or 9, pale skin, long dark hair that hung wet and stringy down her back. And that jacket, bright red. It looked too thin for the cold and too clean for the woods. She just stood there, not crying, not moving, just staring at me. At first, I thought maybe I was imagining her, a trick of the firelight, But when I stood up, she turned and bolted into the trees. "Hey," I called. "Are you lost?" No answer. I ran after her. My boots crunched on leaves, snagged on roots. I saw flashes of red between the trees, always just out of reach. She never made a sound. No snapping twigs, no panting breath. Just that flash of red, like a flag waving me deeper. And then gone. I stopped. The forest was black and wide and wrong in that moment, like it had teeth. I called out again. Nothing. Eventually, I walked back to my camp, heart pounding in my chest. I left some food by the trail, just in case she came back. A granola bar and half a sandwich wrapped in foil. Back at the fire, I tried to tell myself it was fine. She must be with another family nearby. Maybe just messing with me. Maybe not even real. But I didn't sleep well. My tent felt too thin. The woods too alive. And then, at some point in the middle of the night, I heard it. Footsteps. Tiny ones. Circling my tent. Crunch, pause. Crunch, pause. Like someone taking careful little steps all the way around me. I held my breath, ears straining, and then I heard it. A giggle. High-pitched. Childish. Delighted. I wanted to believe it was some animal noise. A fox maybe, or some night bird. But no, it was a laugh. A little girl's laugh. Inches from my head. I shot up and shouted, "Go away." I unzipped the tent in one quick move and swung my flashlight around wildly. Nothing. Just trees, shadows, and the fire burned low. My food was gone, and beside the tent, scratched into the dirt with a stick or a finger, was a drawing. A stick figure, arms outstretched, and bright red lines, like crayon or blood, scribbled where the jacket would be. My stomach dropped. I packed up before the sky even turned gray. I hiked 5 miles out that morning, back to the ranger station. I told the guy there what I saw. I expected him to laugh or tell me it was a prank. But he didn't. He got quiet, really quiet. Then he went into the back and came out with an old folder. Newspaper clippings. A photo, yellow with age. A girl in a red jacket. Same dark hair. Same blank stare. She went missing 32 years ago, he said. Camping trip with her parents. They found the tent, but not her. No sign of struggle. No animal tracks. Just gone. He said every now and then, someone reports seeing her. Always near the lake. Always at night. Always alone. I don't remember walking out of the station. I just remember being cold all the way home, like the woods had pressed something into me that wouldn't come out. Sometimes, when I'm just falling asleep, I hear it. Crunch, pause. Crunch, pause. And a giggle, just outside my window. I don't go into the woods anymore. Not alone. Not even during the day. Because I know what I saw. And I know she's still out there. Waiting. Story 3. I don't talk about this much. Mostly because when I do, people look at me like I'm trying to scare them for fun. But I'm not. I don't tell this story at parties. I don't post it on forums. This is the kind of memory that lives in your bones, not your mouth. And it happened to me. It was the summer after I turned 23. I've been struggling with a lot. Burnout, breakups, the feeling that I was sleepwalking through life. I thought maybe nature could clear my head, strip me down to my essentials, make me feel small in the right kind of way. So I signed up for this survival course in northern Montana. A week in the wild, 5 other participants, 1 instructor. After a 2-day crash course, fire building, water filtration, emergency signaling. We were dropped off, one by one, each a couple miles apart in a thick stretch of pine forest near the Cabinet Mountains. The idea was simple. Live alone for 72 hours with only what you could carry in a backpack. No phones, no music, no noise. Just you, the trees, and whatever came crawling through the underbrush at night. The first night was uneventful. Cold but calm. I managed to set up my tarp between two trees, got a fire going, and ate a handful of beef jerky like it was a 5-star meal. I remember feeling almost proud. Like, hey, maybe I can do this. But things changed the second night. I woke up sometime after 3. I remember because I checked my cheap wristwatch by the firelight. It had one of those dim glow buttons, and it flickered just enough for me to see the time. There was a sound. That's what woke me. At first, I thought it was wind. It came low and slow, like a wave brushing against a distant shore. But there was no breeze. The leaves weren't rustling. The fire hadn't even shifted. And it wasn't water either. There was no stream nearby. No, it was something else. Breathing. Deep. Measured. Like something enormous was asleep out there in the woods and dreaming slow, heavy dreams. Inhale, pause, exhale. Then again, over and over. It scared the hell out of me. But curiosity does what it always does. It dragged me toward the sound when I should have stayed where I was. I grabbed my flashlight. It was one of those small aluminum ones, cheap but bright enough. I kept the beam low and walked barefoot through the brush. The air was colder than I expected, and every twig that cracked underfoot felt like it was alerting something. The breathing didn't move. That's what unsettled me the most. It wasn't shifting, pacing, or circling. It was constant and still, as if rooted in place. And that's exactly what it was. I found the source maybe 60 yards from my camp. A massive pine tree, thick as a car, crooked and gnarled like it had grown twisted in pain. Its bark was black in patches, and the branches reached upward like desperate fingers. And the sound, it was coming from the tree. I crept closer, disbelieving. Maybe it was a trick of the wind, or some animal hiding inside. I circled it slowly, shining my flashlight across the bark. Then I saw the hollow. It wasn't high up like you'd expect. It was just above waist level, wide and dark like an open mouth. I stepped closer. That was when it exhaled. A rush of warm, wet air pushed out of the hollow and hit me full in the face. It wasn't just air, it had weight to it. It smelled like rot and mildew and something else I can only describe as meat. I stumbled back, gagging. Then came the sound. Scratching. Something was inside the tree. Not an animal. Not random clawing. This was deliberate. Slow. Long. Like someone dragging their nails across with purpose. My flashlight flickered. Once. Then again. I didn't wait. I turned and ran. Branches whipping my arms and face. Thorns scraping my ankles. I didn't stop until I was back under my tarp, clutching my knife with both hands like it could protect me from whatever that was. I didn't sleep, just sat there, watching the fire die, waiting for daylight. When the instructors came to collect us the next morning, I told one of them, James, the only guy who didn't treat us like idiots, what I'd seen. He didn't laugh. He didn't ask if I was high or hallucinating. He just went quiet. Later, while the others were loading up, James took his own flashlight and walked off toward where I said the tree was. I saw him disappear into the trees and waited. He was gone longer than I thought he'd be. When he came back, his face looked wrong. Tight, pale, like he'd been splashed with cold water. He didn't say anything to the group, but as we were packing into the vans, he pulled me aside. "You're lucky," he said. "What?" He looked around, then leaned in close. "Because it didn't open its mouth." I stared at him. "What the hell does that mean?" He didn't answer, just handed me his phone. There was a photo on the screen. He must have taken it right before returning. It was of the tree, the same hollow, same twisted trunk. But in the picture, inside the hollow were teeth. Not bark that looked like teeth. Real, human teeth. Not a full mouth. Just a crooked row of yellowed incisors, and a few molars embedded deep in the wood like the tree had grown around a screaming skull. Or worse, like it had grown them itself. I didn't go back to the woods after that. Not for a long time. Even now, I keep to open spaces. I don't walk near trees with deep hollows. I can't look at a twisted pine without hearing that breathing. Sometimes, in the middle of the night, when the world is quiet and I'm alone, I swear I still hear it. Inhale, pause, exhale, waiting.